quiet hush settled over the marketplace long before the first hint of dawn, a deep, pervasive stillness that seemed to cradle the sleeping world in its embrace. It was a stillness unlike any other, not the abrupt silence of a sudden stop, but rather the gradual settling, the slow exhalation of a day's vibrant activity giving way to the profound peace of slumber. Imagine, if you will, the bustling sounds of the day, the cheerful chatter of merchants hawking their wares, the rhythmic clatter of hooves on cobblestones, the distant strains of a minstrel's lute, the delighted squeals of children chasing pigeons, all of it slowly, imperceptibly, fading into the background like waves receding from a shore, leaving behind only the smooth, undisturbed sand of night. This marketplace, usually a vibrant tapestry woven with 1,000 different threads of life and commerce, now lay completely bare, save for the ghost of its daytime self. Stalls stood empty, their colorful awnings furled tight against the chill of the pre-dawn air, resembling slumbering giants wrapped in their cloaks. The wooden tables, polished smooth by countless transactions and the lingering touch of hands, now reflected the faint, pearly luminescence filtering down from the moon, a shy and modest glow that painted the scene in shades of silver and deep indigo. There was an almost sacred quality to this emptiness, a feeling that one was trespassing on a dream, a private moment of rest for a place that gave so much of itself during the waking hours. The air itself felt different, crisp and cool, carrying with it the subtle scent of damp earth and the lingering memory of wood smoke from distant hearths. It was a clean smell, a purifying one, washing away the odors of spices, baked bread, and livestock that permeated the daytime hours. A gentle breeze, almost imperceptible, whispered through the narrow alleys between the stalls, a soft, sighing sound that seemed to be the very breath of the sleeping market. It rustled a stray leaf here, stirred a forgotten piece of straw there, but otherwise, everything remained motionless, locked in a tranquil embrace with the impending dawn. One might walk through this deserted expanse and feel a profound sense of solitude, a quiet introspection that the bustling day simply did not allow. Each cobblestone, worn smooth by generations of footsteps, seemed to hold a memory, a silent testament to the countless lives that had traversed this very spot. You could almost hear the echoes of laughter, the murmur of negotiations, the hurried footsteps of errand runners, all hushed now, waiting patiently for the sun to awaken them once more. The architectural details, often overlooked in the flurry of activity, now stood out in stark relief. The intricate carvings on the lintels of ancient buildings bordering the square, the sturdy, handcrafted beams supporting the upper floors, the weathered signs swinging gently from their rusted hooks, each a small piece of art in itself. Imagine tracing the contours of a discarded merchant's sign with your gaze, the faded paint telling tales of long-past seasons, of harvests abundant and scarce. Perhaps it advertised the finest wool from the northern pastures, or the sweetest honey gathered from the wild hives in the eastern hills. Now, it simply hung, a sentinel in the darkness, awaiting its purpose to be renewed. The silence was so profound that even the faintest sound seemed amplified, the distant hoot of an owl, a sound that carried across the rooftops and settled softly into the market square, the gentle drip of water from a leaky gutter somewhere in the eaves, a steady, hypnotic rhythm against the backdrop of quiet. The grand fountain, usually a lively centerpiece where townsfolk gathered to draw water, gossip, and cool themselves on warm afternoons, now stood as a silent sculpture. Its usually lively spouts were stilled, the water collected in its basin reflecting the weak moonlight like a dark, polished mirror. A few fallen leaves floated on its surface, motionless, adding to the serene tableau. In the daytime, children would splash their hands in its cool waters, and merchants would rinse their produce. Now, it was a monument to stillness, a silent guardian of the night. The very air felt pregnant with anticipation, not a restless anticipation, but a gentle, patient waiting. It was the calm before the storm of activity, the deep breath taken before the plunge into the vibrant dance of the day. One could almost feel the earth slowly turning, bringing with it the promise of new light, new sounds, new interactions. There was a sense of a grand, cosmic rhythm playing out, and the empty marketplace was a small yet significant participant in this grand, unfolding drama. Even the shadows played a different role in this pre-dawn hour. They were long, stretching tendrils, soft and indistinct, not the sharp, well-defined forms cast by the midday sun. They softened the edges of buildings, blurred the lines between stalls, creating a dreamlike quality to the entire scene. It was as if the market itself was still half asleep, its forms and shapes not yet fully emerged from the mists of dreams. These shadows danced gently with the moonlight, shifting and swaying with the imperceptible movement of the celestial sphere, creating an ever-changing, yet utterly peaceful, panorama. One might find themselves pondering the lives that would soon fill this space. The baker perhaps already stoking his ovens, the scent of fresh bread a harbinger of the coming morning. The farmer harnessing his sturdy draft horse, preparing to bring his freshest produce to sell. the weaver carefully folding her vibrant cloths, ready to display them in intricate patterns. Each person, a tiny thread in the vast loom of the community, would soon contribute to the rich tapestry of the day. But for now, they too were lost in their own slumber, their dreams weaving silent stories in the quiet darkness. The old clock tower, a venerable sentinel that had watched over the town for centuries, stood tall and silent, its face obscured by shadow. Its chimes, usually a robust declaration of the passing hours, were now muted, their sound swallowed by the deep quiet. Only the faintest whisper of its internal workings, the gentle ticking of ancient gears, might be heard by an exceptionally keen ear, a subtle reminder of the relentless march of time, even in stillness. It was a comforting sound, a steady heartbeat in the sleeping town. Occasionally a cat, sleek and silent, might dart across the cobblestones, a fleeting shadow within the larger shadows, its eyes gleaming briefly in the moonlight. These nocturnal wanderers were the only true inhabitants of the pre-dawn market, their soft paws making no sound as they pursued unseen prey, or simply enjoyed the freedom of the quiet square. They moved with an ancient grace, perfectly attuned to the hushed rhythms of the night, their presence adding a touch of wildness to the otherwise domesticated space. As the first almost imperceptible lightening of the eastern sky began, a subtle shift in the atmosphere would occur. The indigo would begin to soften, yielding to the palest hint of violet, then a delicate rose, as if the heavens were blushing with the promise of a new day. This was not an abrupt change, but a slow, tender awakening, a gradual brightening that seeped into the very fabric of the marketplace. The shadows would begin to recede, reluctantly at first, clinging to the deepest crevices, before slowly retreating, shortened and softened by the encroaching light. The air would grow slightly cooler just before this dawn, a phenomenon known to those who rise early. It was as if the earth itself was taking a final, deep breath of the night before the warmth of the sun began its daily embrace. This chill was invigorating, a gentle nudge, a subtle reminder that the long night was drawing to a close, and a new beginning was patiently waiting just beyond the horizon. One could stand in the very center of the marketplace at this precise moment, just before the sun's first rays broke free, and feel truly connected to the pulse of the world. The absence of human sound allowed the subtle symphony of nature to emerge. The rustle of leaves in a distant tree, the gentle gurgle of the nearby stream, the faint chirping of the first waking birds, their tentative calls piercing the profound stillness with tiny, hopeful notes. These sounds were not intrusive, but rather woven into the fabric of the quiet, enhancing its beauty rather than breaking it. The architecture of the buildings surrounding the square, which during the day could seem imposing or simply functional, now took on a more majestic quality. Their darkened facades seemed to absorb the lingering night, while their upper stories, catching the earliest hints of light, began to reveal their character. Windows, once dark and vacant, might now show the faintest glimmer of light from within, a single candle lit by an early riser, a subtle sign of life beginning to stir in the homes above the shops. This period of emptiness, this quiet interval before the rush, was vital. It was a time for rejuvenation, for the marketplace to gather its strength, to shed the energies of the previous day and prepare for the demands of the next. It was a natural cycle, a necessary pause in the grand narrative of town life. Without this slumber, without this profound stillness, the vibrancy of the day would be less potent, less appreciated. The contrast between the empty, silent square and the bustling, noisy hub it would soon become was part of its inherent beauty, part of the rhythm that defined its existence. Even the smells would subtly shift. The damp earth aroma might give way to the faintest hint of something fresh and new, perhaps the first tantalizing scent of baking bread carried on the nascent breeze, or the delicate fragrance of a night-blooming flower closing its petals as the light approached. These were gentle harbingers, subtle promises of what was to come, whispered on the silent air. The marketplace seemed to hold its breath, a vast, open chest waiting to be filled with the treasures of daily life. The sturdy wooden stalls, still sleeping in their wrapped awnings, would soon be unfurled, revealing their contents: baskets of fresh berries, wheels of cheese, bolts of shimmering fabric, finely crafted pottery, and gleaming metalwork. Each item, currently unseen and untouched, held the potential to bring joy, sustenance, or utility to those who would soon seek them out. Consider the journey of a single drop of dew clinging to a spider's web stretched between two empty stalls. In the moonlight, it would sparkle like a tiny diamond, a perfect sphere reflecting the entire silent world in miniature. As the light grew, that drop would warm, slowly evaporating, returning to the air from whence it came, a fleeting, beautiful testament to the transient nature of this quiet moment. This tiny, glistening orb was a microcosm of the larger scene, beautiful in its stillness, destined to change with the coming light. The very absence of sound was a sound in itself, a deep, resonant hum that filled the space. It allowed for a different kind of perception, where one could almost hear the thoughts of the sleeping town, the quiet dreams unfolding behind closed doors, the gentle rhythm of countless breaths being drawn and released. It was a powerful, enveloping quiet that invited contemplation, a peaceful void waiting to be filled. And then, almost imperceptibly at first, the first colors of true dawn would begin to paint the eastern sky, not just hints of violet and rose, but bolder strokes of orange and gold, bleeding upwards from the horizon. The clouds, which had been dark and indistinct, would suddenly catch these colors, transforming into fiery chariots or soft, cottony landscapes, each one a unique masterpiece of light and shadow. The sky became a vast canvas, and the rising sun the ultimate artist. As the light strengthened, the long shadows would shorten dramatically, receding into the nooks and crannies, no longer dominant but now mere accents to the emerging scene. The shapes of the stalls, the architecture of the buildings, the contours of the cobblestones, all would become sharper, more defined, shedding the dreamlike quality of the night and asserting their tangible presence. The marketplace was slowly, deliberately waking up, shaking off the last vestiges of slumber. The first true sign of human activity would often be the clatter of a bolt being drawn, or the creak of a door opening, a small yet significant punctuation mark in the grand silence. Perhaps it was the baker, finally opening his shop to release the intoxicating aroma of fresh bread into the waking air, or a street sweeper, beginning the slow, rhythmic sweep of his broom, collecting the few scattered remnants of the previous day. These were the gentle pioneers of the morning, slowly reclaiming the marketplace from the night. The arrival of the first merchant, usually pulling a handcart laden with produce or wares, would break the spell even further. The sound of wheels on cobblestones, the soft grunt of effort, the occasional clink of pottery, these would be the first notes in the morning symphony. They wouldn't be loud or intrusive, but rather gentle introductions, preparing the stage for the crescendo of the full day. The merchant might offer a quiet nod, a polite greeting to the empty air, acknowledging the profound stillness before beginning the daily ritual of setting up. The unfurling of the awnings, one by one, would be like the slow opening of flowers in the morning sun. Each colorful canvas, once tightly bound, would spread out, creating patches of shade and adding splashes of vibrant color to the previously muted palette of the pre-dawn. The marketplace would slowly begin to dress itself for the day, preparing its finest attire to greet its visitors. This meticulous process of preparation was a ritual, a silent dance performed each morning, transforming the empty space into a bustling hub. The water in the fountain, which had been still and reflective, might now begin to stir, a gentle gurgle signaling the return of its flow, ready once more to offer refreshment and sound to the square. The few leaves that had floated motionlessly on its surface would now be gently nudged, slowly circling with the renewed current. The world was awakening, piece by piece, sound by sound, color by color. Even the pigeons, which had been huddled in the eaves of buildings, would begin to stir, their soft cooing sounds joining the chorus of the waking birds. They would alight on the cobblestones, strutting with their characteristic confidence, searching for the first discarded crumbs that might have escaped the night's sweep. Their presence, so common and often overlooked during the day, now added a touch of lively movement to the gradually awakening scene. The slumbering saga of the empty marketplace before dawn was a quiet testament to the cycles of life, the beauty of stillness, and the gentle promise of new beginnings. It was a space where silence reigned supreme, where the imagination could roam free, filling the vacant stalls with the ghosts of past transactions and the anticipation of future ones. It was a moment of profound peace, a collective breath held before the vibrant exhalation of the day. And as the sun finally crested the horizon, sending its first golden shafts of light directly into the square, piercing the last lingering shadows, the metamorphosis would be complete. The empty marketplace would be empty no more. It would be bathed in the warm embrace of the new day, ready to welcome the countless lives, the myriad sounds, the vibrant colors, and the endless stories that would soon fill its ancient stones. The quiet hush would finally break, giving way to the gentle hum, and then the full roar of life beginning anew. Each morning, the same silent ritual, the same patient waiting, the same profound transformation, an endless cycle of slumber and awakening, a true saga whispered on the winds of time. The air, once cool and pristine, would begin to warm, carrying with it the ever-increasing sense of daily life. Fresh bread, brewing coffee, the earthy aroma of newly dug vegetables, the sweet fragrance of blooming flowers brought in from distant gardens. These aromas would mingle and intertwine, creating a complex olfactory tapestry that was as much a part of the marketplace's identity as its visual splendor. The occasional creak of a wagon wheel, heavier now with its morning load, would break the fragile quiet more decisively, signaling the arrival of farmers from the surrounding countryside. Their weathered faces, still bearing the lines of sleep, would nevertheless hold the expectation of a day's honest work. They would unhitch their horses, their movements practiced and economical, their hands calloused from years of toil. The soft snorts and stamps of the horses, so often drowned out by the daytime din, would now be distinctly audible, adding a gentle animal presence to the scene. As more merchants arrived, a low murmur of conversation would begin to rise, like a tide slowly coming in. These initial greetings would be soft, respectful of the lingering pre-dawn quiet, exchanged between familiar faces, a camaraderie forged over countless shared mornings. They would discuss the weather, the prospects for the day's sales, and perhaps a small piece of news from their respective villages. This was the social fabric of the marketplace beginning to reweave itself, thread by delicate thread. The sound of hammers, gentle and rhythmic, would signal the setting up of more complex stalls, the assembly of display racks, the careful arrangement of goods. Each tap and clink, though purposeful, would still retain a certain softness, a quiet deference to the fatting night. It was a dance of preparation, each movement contributing to the grand unveiling. Baskets would be placed, their woven surfaces rough against the smooth wood of the tables. Cloths would be draped, catching the nascent light and adding the first vibrant splashes of color. The light, now fully present, would illuminate the intricate details of the goods themselves. The dewdrops clinging to fresh produce would glisten like tiny jewels. The natural patterns in a piece of pottery would become visible. The subtle shimmer of silk fabric would catch the eye. Everything that had been obscured by shadow was now revealed in its full, tangible glory, ready to be admired, handled, and eventually purchased. Children, too, would begin to emerge, though usually later than the merchants. Their initial appearances would be tentative, perhaps sent by parents on an early errand. Their soft footsteps, their whispered words, would add another layer of delicate sound to the growing morning chorus. They might chase a pigeon or stoop to examine a particularly interesting stone, their innocent curiosity a stark contrast to the purposeful movements of the adults. The transformation was gradual, never abrupt. It was a symphony building slowly from silence, each new instrument adding its unique voice. The first clatter of coins as a merchant made an early sale, the crisp tearing of paper as a baker wrapped a fresh loaf, the gentle thud of a sack of grain being set down. These were the individual notes that would soon coalesce into the bustling melody of the day. The marketplace, which had been a haven for introspection and quiet contemplation, would now begin to shed that role, embracing its purpose as a hub of commerce and community. The profound solitude would dissipate, replaced by the gentle hum of human connection. The dreams that had permeated the pre-dawn air would give way to the waking realities, the practicalities of daily life, and the vibrant interactions that define a thriving town. Even as the energy built, there would remain for a short while longer a subtle undercurrent of the pre-dawn peace. The deeper silence would not be entirely forgotten, merely pushed to the background, a foundational layer beneath the emerging sounds and sights. It was a memory, a gentle whisper that reminded everyone of the profound rest that had just taken place, preparing them for the day's exertions. The stories of the marketplace were endless, and each morning a new chapter began. The empty stalls, which had served as silent witnesses to the night, would now become stages for countless small dramas, a haggling over prices, a friendly exchange of pleasantries, the joyous discovery of a long-sought item. The potential for these stories, born in the quiet stillness before dawn, was what truly animated the space. And as the sun climbed higher, asserting its full authority, washing the entire square in its golden embrace, the last vestiges of the empty marketplace before dawn would finally vanish. The deep indigo would be gone, the pearly moonlight a distant memory. The profound hush would be replaced by the full, vibrant symphony of life. The cycle was complete, the transformation thorough. And yet beneath it all, the promise of the next slumber, the next quiet awakening, was always present, an invisible thread weaving through the continuous tapestry of time. This inherent cyclical nature gave the marketplace a soul, a timeless quality that transcended the individual moments of hustle and bustle. It was a place that breathed, exhaling the vibrant energy of the day and inhaling the profound peace of the night. The stone walls of the surrounding buildings, which had held the chill of the pre-dawn air, would now begin to absorb the warmth of the sun, radiating a gentle heat back into the square. This subtle shift in temperature was another quiet indicator of the changing hours, a physical manifestation of the transition from night to day. The textures of the surfaces, which had been cool and smooth to the touch in the darkness, would now feel slightly warmer, more inviting, more alive. Birdsong would intensify, no longer tentative chirps but a full-throated chorus, a celebration of the sun's return. Sparrows would dart and weave between the newly erected stalls, their quick movements a blur against the bright sky. Pigeons, emboldened by the growing activity, would strut with even more confidence, their iridescent neck feathers catching the light as they pecked at the ground. Their presence was a constant, a reassuring sign of life that complemented the human activity. The scent of roasting nuts, perhaps from a vendor setting up an early snack cart, would begin to waft through the air, mixing with the existing aromas to create an even richer bouquet. This was the scent of burgeoning commerce, of appetites being awakened, of the promise of simple pleasures that the marketplace offered. It was an inviting smell, drawing people deeper into the heart of the square, encouraging them to linger. The sounds of foot traffic, which had been non-existent, would gradually increase from a scattering of individual steps to a gentle, continuous shuffling. Different types of footwear would contribute to this soundscape. The soft patter of leather shoes, the heavier thud of wooden clogs, the lighter scrape of sandals. Each step was a small, personal journey, adding to the collective motion of the awakening town. Children, once seen only in fleeting glimpses, would now be more numerous, their voices adding a higher, more playful pitch to the growing cacophony. Their laughter, light and unrestrained, would echo between the buildings, a joyful contrast to the serious negotiations and transactions taking place around them. They would weave through the legs of adults, their energy boundless, their curiosity piqued by the colorful displays. The empty spaces between the stalls, once vast and open, would begin to fill with people, becoming narrow pathways, bustling thoroughfares. What was once an expanse of silent cobblestones would transform into a dynamic flow of humanity, a river of individuals moving with purpose and intention. The sense of openness would diminish, replaced by the comforting closeness of community, the shared experience of the marketplace. The sun's light would sharpen, creating crisper shadows, clearly defining the outlines of everything it touched. The intricate carvings on the old buildings, once blurred by the moon's soft glow, would now stand out with remarkable clarity, revealing centuries of artistry and history. The weathered textures of wood and stone would be brought into sharp focus, each crack and groove telling a silent story. The great clock tower, which had been a silent guardian, would soon declare the morning hour with its powerful chimes, a resonant sound that would cut through the increasing din, reminding everyone of the steady march of time. Its deep, sonorous tones would reverberate across the square, a powerful affirmation that the day had truly begun, that the marketplace was fully awake and ready for its purpose. This full awakening was not just a physical transition, it was a spiritual one. The marketplace was not merely a collection of stalls and people, it was a living entity, imbued with the collective spirit of the town. Its pre-dawn slumber was its period of introspection, its moment of quiet dreaming, and its full awakening was its vibrant expression of life, its contribution to the ongoing narrative of existence. The flow of energy was palpable now, a vibrant hum that settled over the entire area. Negotiations would become more animated, voices rising and falling in rhythmic patterns. The clatter of goods being handled, the rustle of fabrics, the jingle of coins, these sounds would become the dominant melody, a rich and complex symphony of commerce. The once empty marketplace was now teeming, a vibrant center of life. Yet for those who had witnessed its quiet repose, a subtle understanding would remain. They would see beyond the bustling crowds and the vibrant displays, remembering the profound stillness that preceded it all. They would appreciate the contrast, understanding that the beauty of the day was made all the more potent by the memory of the night's peace. The marketplace held both realities within its ancient stones, a testament to the endless dance of light and shadow, sound and silence. The very air, once cool and pristine, would now carry the collective warmth of bodies, the lingering scent of morning meals, and the subtle fragrances of spices and produce. It was an air alive with the breath of the community, a palpable energy that filled every corner of the square. It was the smell of life in full swing, a comforting and invigorating sensation. And as the sun climbed higher, casting fewer shadows and bathing the entire square in an almost uniform bright light, the final traces of the empty marketplace before dawn would vanish, not completely erased, but rather absorbed into the vibrant tapestry of the day. The memories of stillness would recede, becoming a cherished internal understanding rather than an overt presence. The market was now fully itself, a powerful, bustling heart at the center of the town, pulsating with the rhythms of commerce and community, ready to create new memories and new stories until the gentle hand of evening would once again draw its weary veil, inviting the profound slumber to return and the cycle to begin anew, always returning to that sacred, quiet space before the first hint of dawn. The overarching narrative of the marketplace was one of continuous flow, of gentle transformations and profound shifts, a testament to the enduring cycles of nature and human endeavor. It was a place that never truly ceased to exist, only changed its form, its expression, its very being, moving from the ethereal quiet of the pre-dawn to the tangible vibrancy of the day, and then back again, an eternal dance between two contrasting, yet equally essential, states of being. The architecture, which had been mere silhouettes in the moon's glow, now stood revealed in intricate detail, each stone and timber telling a story of its own. The textures that were smooth and indistinct in the darkness now offered a rich variety for the eye. The rough-hewn beams of a timber-framed house, the intricate stonework of a civic building, the smooth, glazed tiles on a rooftop. These details, so often overlooked in the daily rush, now stood out, a appreciated for their craftsmanship and their silent history. The very ground beneath the ancient cobblestones, now vibrated with the energy of countless footsteps. Each worn stone, polished by generations of wear, held within it the echoes of past lives, past conversations, past transactions. They were the silent witnesses to the continuous drama of the marketplace, absorbing the weight of carts, the hurried steps of shoppers, and the playful leaps of children. Even the distant sounds, which had been so clear and distinct in the quiet of the morning, now blended into the overall symphony of the market. The hoot of the owl, the drip of the gutter, the first tentative birdsong, these were now subsumed, becoming almost imperceptible elements in the richer, more complex soundscape of the day. The focus had shifted from the subtle whispers of the natural world to the vibrant chorus of human activity. The light continued its relentless climb, softening the last remaining pockets of shadow, making them less mysterious and more functional. The nooks and crannies that had held secrets in the darkness now became mere architectural features, illuminated and exposed. The market was fully revealed, holding nothing back from the scrutiny of the day. This full illumination was a final shedding of the night's mystery, an embrace of clarity and transparency. The air, which had carried the cool, clean scent of damp earth, now bore the full spectrum of market aromas. The pungent spices from the east, the sweet perfume of fresh-cut flowers, the savory smell of cooking food from a street vendor's cart, the earthy aroma of root vegetables piled high. It was a complex and intoxicating blend, a signature scent that was unique to the marketplace in its bustling hours, an olfactory fingerprint of its vibrant life. The once still fountain, now fully animated, sent its waters arcing and splashing, creating a constant, soothing background sound. Its waters danced and sparkled in the sunlight, attracting the attention of children and providing a refreshing sight for weary shoppers. It was no longer a silent sentinel, but a lively participant in the market's daily rhythm, its steady flow a symbol of abundance and continuity. The pigeons, now fully active, were a constant presence, a living, breathing part of the market's ecosystem. They strutted boldly between the legs of shoppers, swooped down to snatch discarded crumbs, and perched on ledges, observing the bustling scene with their intelligent, beady eyes. They were the unofficial cleanup crew, an integral part of the marketplace's daily ebb and flow. The conversations had deepened, becoming more involved. Merchants were actively engaging with customers, demonstrating their wares, extolling their virtues, and skillfully negotiating prices. The language of commerce filled the air, a complex blend of persuasion, agreement, and friendly banter. It was a testament to the human desire to connect, to exchange, to build relationships through transaction. The colors of the marketplace, which had been muted and subtle in the pre-dawn, now burst forth in a kaleidoscope of hues. The vibrant reds of apples, the golden yellow of ripe cheeses, the rich blues and greens of dyed fabrics, the earthen tones of pottery, all contributed to a visually stunning spectacle. It was a feast for the eyes, a vibrant tapestry woven from countless individual elements, each one adding to the overall richness. The flow of people became a continuous stream, ebbing and flowing, pausing and moving, a complex dance of individual intentions woven into a collective movement. Shoppers browsed, deliberated, and purchased. Friends met, chatted, and parted. Families navigated the crowds, their children held close. The marketplace was a microcosm of society, a living, breathing entity where countless stories unfolded simultaneously. And yet, for all its vibrant activity, the memory of its quiet repose lingered like a subtle aftertaste. For those sensitive enough to perceive it, there was an underlying sense of calm, a deep resilience born from its nightly slumber. The marketplace carried within its very stones the knowledge of both states of being, the profound peace of emptiness and the exhilarating energy of fullness. This balance, this cyclical rhythm, was the true essence of the marketplace. It was not simply a place of transaction, but a stage for life itself, constantly shifting, constantly renewing, always returning to that fundamental quiet before the dawn, only to burst forth again into the vibrant, beautiful chaos of the day. It was an enduring testament to the continuous saga of existence, a never-ending story told through the ebb and flow of light and shadow, sound and silence, activity and rest. The journey from the serene quiet of the pre-dawn hours to the bustling vibrancy of midday was not merely a passage of time, but a profound transformation, a kind of rebirth that occurred daily. Each morning, the marketplace, like a grand, ancient sleeper, shed the deep embrace of night and slowly, deliberately, stretched into wakefulness, ready to embrace its purpose once more. The air, which had held a crisp, almost brittle quality in the quiet, now softened and warmed, becoming thick with the breath of hundreds, the mingling scents, and the subtle vibrations of countless activities. This change in atmospheric quality was almost imperceptible at any single moment, but utterly profound when comparing the two states. The shadows that still clung to the deepest recesses of the ancient buildings were now mere whispers of their former selves, retreating further and further into the cool stone as the sun climbed higher, asserting its full dominion. They were no longer mysterious or enveloping, but simply delineations, adding depth and definition to the architectural forms rather than obscuring them. The play of light and shadow, once a dominant feature, now became a subtle embellishment. The rhythmic sounds of the day, which had started with the gentle creak of a single cart, now swelled into a complex symphony. The clatter of metal on stone, the rustle of fabrics being handled, the enthusiastic calls of vendors, the murmur of conversations, the distant laughter of children, all these sounds wove together into a rich and continuous auditory tapestry. It was a living soundtrack, constantly evolving, never repeating, yet always retaining the unique character of the marketplace. The vibrant colors of the produce and wares, once merely hinted at in the pale morning light, now shone with full intensity under the direct gaze of the sun. The deep reds of berries, the sunny yellows of lemons, the verdant greens of leafy vegetables, the earthy browns of pottery, the shimmering silvers of metalwork, each hue contributed to a visual feast, a vibrant mosaic that drew the eye and stimulated the senses. The marketplace became a celebration of color, a joyous riot of pigments. The constant flow of people, which had started as a trickle, was now a powerful river, an unbroken stream of humanity moving through the square. Each individual, with their own unique purpose and destination, contributed to the collective energy of the crowd. Shoppers, merchants, idlers, travelers, all mingled and interacted, creating a dynamic and ever-shifting landscape of human connection. The marketplace was a stage for countless small narratives, each one unfolding within the larger story of the day. The grand fountain, now spouting its waters with full vigor, became a focal point of activity. Its cool spray offered refreshment, its constant murmur provided a soothing background sound, and its basin became a gathering spot for those taking a brief respite from the bustling crowds. Children would dip their hands in its waters, and sometimes a dog would lap thirstily from its edges, an enduring symbol of life and sustenance in the heart of the square. Even the air itself seemed to vibrate with a palpable energy, a collective hum of human activity and interaction. It was an invigorating atmosphere, filled with the promise of discovery, the thrill of negotiation, and the simple pleasure of connection. The marketplace was not just a physical space, it was an experience, a sensory immersion that engaged all aspects of one's being. The old clock tower, having declared the full morning hours, continued its steady vigil, its silent ticking a constant, underlying rhythm beneath the outward chaos. It was a stoic observer, measuring the passage of countless moments, each one a small piece of the grand tapestry of time woven within the marketplace. It reminded everyone that even amidst the dynamic energy, time itself marched on, relentless and impartial. Memories of the deep quiet, the profound stillness of the pre-dawn, would linger in the subconscious, a subtle counterpoint to the vibrant activity. For those who had witnessed it, there was a deeper appreciation for the energy of the day, a recognition of the transformative power of light and life. The marketplace, in its daily cycle, offered a profound lesson in the balance of existence, the interplay between rest and activity, silence and sound, emptiness and fullness. This perpetual rhythm, this continuous saga of slumber and awakening, was what truly defined the marketplace. It was a place that breathed, that dreamed, that woke, that lived, and then gracefully surrendered to rest, only to be reborn with the next dawn. Its story was never-ending, whispered on the wind, etched into its ancient stones, and carried in the collective memory of the town. And as the sun began its gentle descent towards the western horizon, casting long, golden shadows across the square, the marketplace would slowly begin its graceful transition once more, preparing for the quiet embrace of the coming night, ready to return to its state of beautiful, profound emptiness before dawn, completing its timeless cycle, waiting patiently for the next awakening. The full arc of the day, from the profound quiet to the vibrant peak, and then the gradual winding down, was a beautiful illustration of life's inherent rhythm.